What else is going on?
I don't want to say.
You don't want to say?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm expecting the worst.
It's not the worst. It's just kind of mental health bullshit. And
Lauren, this is a mental health
I
podcast.
know.
This is a bullshit mental health podcast.
No.
Come on. Hello, friends.
Hello, friends.
Oh my god, I sounded so fake. Hey, friends. Welcome to Pickles and Vodka podcast. The mental
That sounds much more accurate.
And we're a mental health podcast where your co-hosts are less okay with each passing day. Do you like that?
I was just saying, who did that? I love it.
Well, it was kind of a joint effort. I was talking to my friend Janai on the phone this week.
Mm-hmm.
So you know Janai.
Yes.
We met on the same social media platform back in the day. We were all active on this eating disorder online community. Yeah, we have kept up. Oh my god, I can't. Lauren, I'm like shaking right now. I think I had too much coffee.
I was shaking before I drank my coffee. It's only going to get worse or better. Maybe that'll help.
Anyway, Janai is a person I met online, but we met in real life and we've stayed friends. And now we both have Wednesdays off and we call each other every Wednesday to just check in.
That's adorable. That's really adorable.
And so I think I said something like less okay with each passing day. Mm-hmm. And Janai was like, that should be your new tagline. And I was like, let me write it down. And I wrote it down and the handwriting is so bad. It makes me laugh every time I look at it. I'll post it to our Instagram. But yeah, I think I said originally less than okay in each passing day. I can't even read it.
Well, when you said it, it worked. And by the way, I'm Lauren.
Oh yeah.
Making sure that gets done.
I'm the one who can't shut up, and my name's Christina. And everything sucks right now. We're here to talk about our mental health and maybe make you feel less alone, right, Lauren?
Yeah. For some reason, I was going to I can't talk either. This is a common theme for us. For some reason, I thought you were going to say something like make you feel less bad or less, because we just keep saying like how we're big messes right now.
Like we'll help you feel less okay every time you listen to us. You'll feel less okay.
No, like the opposite. Like we've been talking about like how everything is like such a mess and like that's okay. We're gonna make you feel a little better about that. And I was looking at my topic and I was like, probably not.
Okay, so if you're new to the podcast, I noticed we had a couple new followers.
Oh, cool.
So good. It means that maybe y'all are telling people about our podcast. Yeah. Just like we asked. And we love that.
And maybe those followers will tell other people and we'll grow exponentially.
Yes. We're not very smart, but we're authentic.
Yeah. Listen back if you want to know what that means. You don't deserve an explanation of our inside jokes every time.
Oh my god. That was cold, Lauren. Listeners.
Sometimes you gotta lay it out. You gotta beat it into them. Be like, yeah.
Oh my god,
you want to
stop.
Listen? Not like physically. Even I have my limits.
Even I have my limits. Like you're some, like, I don't know.
Like, I think we've established in the past that I'm the more just like, yeah, fuck it, let's be real. And you're like, I try to keep everybody generally happy and content.
Yeah. You've hit the nail on the head. I am a people pleaser, and I want to make everyone feel safe, even if it makes me feel unsafe.
Fair enough.
Oh, excuse me, I'm burping again. I'm drinking a carbonated beverage.
I am a people pleaser, but I think in that I just don't want to ever do anything wrong that makes me feel like I'm a terrible person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So people pleasers in different ways, both of us.
I was going to say something else, but now I don't remember. Oh, Lauren.
Yes.
Wait, I'm going to send you. Oh, no, I'm just going to fucking tell you. So we have 5 stars again.
Oh my god.
As of this morning.
I apologize for all my harsh talk. You are all lovely and beautiful, and just stay that way.
Yeah, so if you're new here, we like to get housekeeping out of the way early so you don't have to listen to us talk about ourselves podcasting for very long. Yeah. But we both have ADHD. One diagnosed,
potentially.
One potentially diagnosed.
One just acts like it, so probably.
It's flaring up right now. But yeah, holy shit, we have 5 stars again. I took a screenshot, so even if it goes away, it'll always be in my heart.
Nice.
Yeah.
That means you get to use that anytime, like you're advertising, like, would you like to listen to a 5-star podcast?
We're a 5-star podcast. Sorry, I'm like leaning away so the microphone doesn't hear my burping under my breath.
So
I'm kind of waiting for you to go down the outline. I'm not sure how much you want to stick to the outline. I'm just like giving you room to decide since it's technically your episode.
Oh, see,
is that okay?
I was waiting. Absolutely. I was just waiting because, and I could be wrong. We could have said the exact opposite. But I thought we decided whoever chose the topic goes first on where you at. So I was expecting you to ask that.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I couldn't even remember. This is what happens. I have ideas and I text Lauren and I'm like, let's do things this way. And she's like, great. And then I forget about it.
Well, I was concerned too because you really could have said the exact opposite and I was remembering wrong because that's also me.
I'm probably going to cut all that. Oh, that's Lauren, okay. Okay, yes. Listeners, listen.
I feel like you should not cut any of this. I think this should be the one where we're just like, guys, this is us.
Oh, this is us. That was a cute show. The world is a really dark place right now. Like, a lot of people are not doing okay. And so I thought we could do something a little lighthearted in this episode.
Yay! That's good.
Yeah, so instead of a palate cleanser like we've done in the past, I was thinking we could do like a drinking game, but instead of drinking, it's a vaping game.
Oh, right up my alley.
I have a few ideas. You can maybe decide. So,
okay.
We need to vape every time one of us says vulnerable.
Okay.
Or every time one of our pets makes a noise. Or every time one of us says, I don't know.
I think we should vape every time one of us says, I don't know. And I think every time one of our pets make a noise, then we have to like take a long drag. It's like the equivalent of a drinking game. You know, like you take a drink or you have to take a shot when something major happens.
All right. Well, we'll figure it out as we go.
Okay.
So Lauren.
Yes.
Tell me where the fuck you're at.
I guess not too bad. I feel like I've tried to add some social things in that I might not have done in the past. I don't think I mentioned on last week's, or maybe I did, because I would have just done this, that I was looking for a place last week to just sit outside and have coffee where they let you like have your dog outside. Did I talk about that?
You might have mentioned it to me off air.
Okay. Because, yeah, I just woke up on Saturday and I was like, you know what? I just want to go somewhere to have coffee and I want to have my dog with me. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of places. It was actually fairly nice last weekend and it was sunny. So I was like, I bet there's places where you can sit outside at least. And so I was looking that up and I found this place here. It is called Zoomies, which is already adorable.
Wait, like the shoe store? That's what I'm picturing.
Like Zoomies.
Zoomies.
Yeah, you know, like animals get the zoomies. And basically what it was is it was like a little like coffee shop, cafe / like, I mean, not dog daycare because they don't watch them for you. But I mean, that was kind of the setup, and like a little pet store as well. And it was so cool. And you go inside and there's a little counter. You can order coffee and basically like coffee shop type food. And then off to the side, then there's a whole room. And this is where I got like the daycare feel, because it's kind of, you know, it's like the floor you'd have on a dog daycare because they have accidents, but there's really nice furniture. There's little dog beds all over, and they keep the door shut. So if everybody agrees, the dogs can all be off leash, and, you know, then they can't run out the door.
Wow.
And everybody was so nice. That's what I was just like surprised, because I just thought I'm just going to sit on my computer and sip coffee with my dog. But people started coming in. I could tell some of them were probably regulars because they recognized each other. When I was ordering, these two guys came up with their little corgi and asking me, you know, like, oh, who's this guy? And introducing him to Pico.
Is this Pico internet star?
Yes. And then when I came in, I got all situated and they come in then and they sit around the corner and then I hear them, they're like, Pico, Pico, come here, Pico. Like they're calling him. And I was just like, okay, we can go say hi. And they had, cause you can buy little bags of bacon. And so they fed Pico bacon and everyone wanted to like talk to you. Yes.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, oh my gosh, I love the vibe here. It's so nice. And I will definitely go again. So that was a pleasant surprise afternoon.
Like anyone can bring their dog in.
Yep.
Because there's a place like that here in Virginia Beach, but you have to like download their app and upload like proof of vaccinations before you go in. And like they have people on the outskirts like overseeing in case of fights, and you can get banned if your dog plays too hard.
Well, this place, I didn't look out back, but I when I looked it up, apparently the main room, dogs are just welcome, and they do that, like they ask you to keep them on leash, but it's kind of understood that if everybody agrees, then it's okay to let your dog off leash.
Trusting the people, imagine that.
I know, as long as everyone's cool with it. And they did say they had an outdoor closed off yard space that was specifically off leash, and they do make you sign a waiver.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sick though.
I know. I mean, because I did. I just walked right in and was like, me and my dog, we'll sit down and have coffee. People are going to feed him bacon.
People just bother you everywhere you go because you're famous. It's okay.
I know. It's hard living your life, Pico.
Yeah.
He's going to have to start wearing a disguise.
Oh my god. Did you do anything for Halloween? Wait, you did. We talked about that already. Did we?
Yeah, because I had a party that was like a week before Halloween, so that was all taken care of.
Didn't he dress up?
Oh, I did on Halloween night, just because I have little bat wings for him. I just put them on.
I have so many pictures that I just never posted to Instagram.
Yeah, I would be the same way if I was the one that was responsible for it.
Social media tangent for a second. Oh,
I'd love it, because I have one too.
Perfect. I have found it very hard to post to the Instagram lately, and I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. It's because I'm preoccupied with a lot of other things, and I just feel like it's fake when I do it. But I was thinking, and it's not really, like, people want a place to talk about the latest episode and give us their thoughts and stuff. It's kind of shitty. Like, when I find a podcast I like and I go to their Instagram and they haven't posted in forever, I'm like,
yeah,
aw, that's a bummer. I wonder if they're still active. But yeah, it's just, the other part of me is like, this doesn't matter and people understand.
Well, I mean, it matters on a small scale. It matters in that it matters to us, and if it matters to other people, it matters.
So, yeah.
I'm thinking this comes up so often, so I know I've probably said this like 40 times on the podcast already, but I'm always thinking of the tattoo on my leg that says, sure, it all matters, but in such an unimportant way. More and more, I'm just kind of like, that is just the message of life, isn't it? On my leg.
Yeah. Everything like that's been happening has really made me take a step back from social media and just pay attention to real life. Like, try to be more active with the people in my life, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I guess it's probably...
Oh, I got a vape. We got a vape. I said I don't know.
Okay.
Wow, that's going to be annoying. We better not say it.
So, I feel like my thing with social media is kind of like related in a way too to like everything that I see going on, because I feel like when anything big happens that everyone's paying attention to, that's when more of the idiots come out. And what I can't handle anymore on social media is just the idea of somebody has an opinion and somehow in their cute little brain, it becomes a fact because it's their opinion, and they get super angry at everybody else and call them stupid because it's like, you don't believe what I believe. And
yeah.
So yeah, basically I've been on my Facebook a couple times recently, and I went on like my personal Instagram for a hot minute, and all those like just those like 3 experiences, I feel like I came out of every single one of them just telling myself, this is why you only use your dog's Instagram, because you didn't have to deal with all of this shit then. And it's so much more pleasant. It just reminded me. I'm like, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, it's so hard. I mean, I'm kind of going to talk about this when I talk about where I'm at, so put a pin in that.
Okay.
What else is going on?
I don't want to say.
You don't want to say?
Yeah.
Well, now I'm expecting the worst.
It's not the worst. It's just kind of mental health bullshit. And
Lauren, this is a mental health podcast.
I know.
This is a bullshit mental health podcast.
No.
Come on.
But it's hard. It's
I know it's hard. That's the point.
I think it was really good. I saw one of like my best friends that I made in treatment this time around. I saw him yesterday and said something that I made a note of because I was just like, this describes it so well, because he is, I think, like 38, so we're both older and didn't come into like admitting this is a problem for years and years and years. And, he was mentioning like his wife wants to know if he's not doing well or if he's struggling with something. And he's just like, I want her to know. But at the same time, I spent 20 plus years thinking that I had to hide this from everybody. So even if you don't want to anymore, it's like, it's become a habit, and I'm so thinking, I was like, yeah, it's the same thing as if you say, for 30 years, I have woken up. The first thing that I do is start my coffee maker, and then I take my dog out, and then I come in and I take a shower. And it's like, you've done this, every single day for decades. And then someone suddenly tells you, you can't do any of those things in the morning anymore. But you wake up and just like, but it's habit. This is what my body naturally does. Like, I don't even ask it to, and it wants to.
Yeah.
And that's what I realized, like, yeah, that's what it's like. It's like my whole insides are just like, but we hide things.
Yeah. Oh my God. And we suddenly expect everything to be different in recovery, or at least we used to think this way. We don't even consider that this has been like decades in the making in our cases. Yeah, you don't just get rid of it overnight.
Yeah. And like that made sense why even if you say like, okay, I don't want to be so secretive anymore, but just saying I don't want to doesn't mean you instantly can change it.
Well, how do you think recovery is going?
I would say medium. There's good and bad. And the thing that I have been holding out is that there was a time last weekend, or maybe the one before, where I was frustrated with things like changing body, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And so I went and I took laxatives again. And it's the first time I have since I've been out. And I haven't done it since. So that's why I'm like, it's not horrific. I'm not right back where I started. But it was just kind of like, it almost sits worse with me that I have not told my dietitian or therapist that.
Well, this is the first step. I mean... Yeah. That's the thing. You need to go at your own pace. Like, changing is so hard. Like, learning to not keep secrets anymore is so hard. If all you can do is maybe text someone about it or, talk about it on a podcast. Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Well, like, that's huge. And you have to do things at your own pace. With that said, I do think, if it's affecting your health, it is good to talk to a health professional or even just tell someone professional. Those laxatives are, you know what they do. Yeah,
I do. I know very much. And that might come up in my topic.
Anyone listening that's considering using laxatives, just don't.
The other thing with that is that when I realized I didn't say anything for, a couple of appointments, that also got me thinking. So now there's also weighing on my brain that I should tell my dietitian because I feel good with her and I do trust her. But it did make me think on the topic of therapist, as has come up, that I'm just kind of like... I don't know if it's the right fit.
When you know works both ways.
Yeah. So those are the things in my brain that I'm struggling with this week. So where are you at?
Okay, I will also be honest, since you were so brave. I've been really kind of cycling between being angry and being numb. I just haven't been doing very well. Like, that's the truth. I just haven't been doing very well mentally. And a lot of it is my own making. Like, I've been spending too much time on my phone. I've been really invested in what's happening with Palestine, obviously. And a lot of the anger I'm feeling this week in particular has to do with, the government, this country. people in my life who are even denying that it's happening or they're justifying it. And like, I'm going to save the stories for maybe next week or something, but I've been having a lot of really hard conversations with my family members and trying to draw a lot of boundaries. Mm-hmm. But it's hard. I honestly have been really, really grateful for the people in my life who have just been listening and showing up for me. I have been getting outside of my comfort zone and like talking to people on the phone more. Like I've been talking to Janai every week, and I talked to Orion last night, actually.
Oh, cool.
We were talking about our families, and just Thanksgiving's coming up next week by the time this comes out, I want to say. And we don't need to tell you all how difficult that is.
Yeah, I mean, as you're talking, I realize like, oh, yeah, you are in a different place than me because I am both physically distant and just kind of distant in general from my family. I know the sort of conversations you said you've been having with your family. Like, I have them with mine, but I feel like it doesn't necessarily have to invade into my life so much because I cannot talk to them for a while. I don't live near them, where I realized like, oh yeah, if I was still like living in my hometown, then I probably would be feeling similar. And I don't go home for Thanksgiving, so I'm not even worried about that. So when you mentioned that, I was like, oh yeah, people are going to have to deal with shit because that is Thanksgiving, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, spoiler alert. I probably won't be going to Thanksgiving this year.
Is this just a choice or is there a reason you can't?
It's a choice.
Okay, totally fair.
But yeah, we need to move on. I haven't been very active in my recovery in a while. Like, that's nothing new. But it's like I'm actively starting to self-sabotage now. And it's just the only response to this anger and numbness that feels accessible to me right now, I guess. It's just hard to be here.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's been helpful to talk to friends. Orion texted me something that I want to share with his permission because I thought it was really helpful. So this goes out to all you listeners. Please give yourself some time to de-stress and do nothing else. Your body doesn't know whether you're in war or peace. You still need real rest and recovery every day. The world appreciates your commitment, but it doesn't need our self-destruction.
Yes.
And I was like, ouch. I really needed to hear that.
Yeah. Called out, but yes.
I was so called out. He called me out a few times. And I really do appreciate it when people call me out.
Yeah, me too.
Actually, there's a new term, call someone in.
Aww.
Have you heard that?
I haven't, but I like it.
If you're doing it to a friend out of love, it's like a call in. That's how I feel. And that's what I need. But yeah, I've been playing piano a lot. I wanted to tell you.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of piano, and it's been really helping.
I need to do that. Every time I hear that, then I'm always just like, why am I not playing more music?
So I went to the museum by myself the other day. I went to this art museum and I just played classical music. But yeah, I heard some pieces that I really liked and that kind of sparked an interest to find the sheet music and print them out. And then I just tried playing some of them and now I have one memorized. So
oh, wow.
It just makes me feel good that I can do that still.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you want to talk about today, Lauren? I'm so tired of talking about myself.
So maybe after we have this conversation, it will inspire you to not self-sabotage so much because it might remind you of what you don't want. My topic is rock bottom.
Ah! Oh my God. Sorry for screaming, y'all. I love it. What inspired you to choose this topic?
I don't have the whole mental trajectory of how it came to me. I know I was just considering other topics and I felt like they were kind of things we'd talked about before or that I didn't want to get into a whole episode about, and it just kind of led to one of the offshoots was rock bottom, and then I just started scribbling down thoughts about it all, and I was like, I think this is it. One of the first thoughts that I wrote down was addiction is a feeling, not consequences.
Ooh, you should elaborate on that a little more.
That was where I was thinking of it in terms of the idea that we have a set view of what rock bottom looks like for other people, I feel like. And I was just thinking, like, especially because you and I believe, have both mentioned several times that we can be considered pretty high functioning in some of the things we deal with. And I was just like,
not these days.
I was just like, is the idea of rock bottom, like, that's more detrimental, I feel like, to people that are high functioning, because you end up feeling like, I'm not there yet. And then you try and get there because you don't feel justified in like getting help until you've reached rock bottom, because that's how it's portrayed and that's how people are going to view it. One example in particular, it was a podcast I used to listen to a long time ago, a mental health podcast. I don't remember the name, even though it's like, well, it's super widely popular. This guy isn't hurting for guests, for audience, so I don't feel too bad about it. In fact, I might feel more like ashamed, like, how dare I call this out?
Oh, okay, keep going.
Just like, you're not worthy of referencing this, but...
oh, you are, Lauren, you are.
The guy that hosts it is a former alcoholic. And I remember one of the episodes where he was talking about his own alcoholism and basically said, you know, like, I never had anything where, like, I lost my home and I lost my family and I was crazy drunk on the streets or anything like that. But he just said it was all encompassing in my brain. And I remember he told the story saying, like, I'd go out with friends and we'd say, let's order, you know, a bottle of wine on the table. And he's like, the entire time we're having dinner and talking, I'm just eyeing the bottle of wine. Like, am I going to be able to pour a second glass before everyone else does?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. You know, that's not like outwardly visible as like, this is your rock bottom. But if that seriously is the only thing on your brain when you are supposed to be enjoying company with friends, then that is pretty serious.
Yeah. And addiction changes your brain, even in small ways. And it does happen over time. You might not even realize it. But to say that your addiction is only culminating when you're at rock bottom is so dangerous to say, because like, every day that you, like alcohol, for instance, is hugely damaging to the brain and to the body, especially with long-term use, like regular use. Like when I was drinking very heavily every day, and like I destroyed my body. And it wasn't very obvious on the outside. And I only started taking it seriously when I went to detox. That's when I was like, okay, maybe I do need to be sober. And that I consider that like my quote unquote rock bottom. But that completely invalidates the struggles that I've had since then, not just with staying sober from alcohol, but with other substances, because my addict brain hasn't healed yet. Like my brain, like we were talking about with the food, it's hard to change your habits after 20 years with an eating disorder. Like with addiction, it is not only habits, but you know, it's also your brain. Like it's very hard to change overnight. And so like, yeah, I don't drink anymore, but I am addicted to lots of other things.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, it's just it's another thing that's stuck with you because you were in that life for so long. And
yeah, but back to like the rock bottom aspect of it, I don't know. I do think it's starting to become a little more outdated. Like people are starting to realize the danger of using like such binary statements like that.
I guess I feel like there is still, like, you're right, it's changing slowly, but there still needs to be more, because I know...
maybe my brain still thinks the old way. Like, we are talking about how... But like, yeah, in my mind, I'm realizing, I still do consider myself as having to reach a rock bottom.
Yeah,
before,
I definitely feel that for myself. While I was scribbling down thoughts, I did a little exercise for myself, and I just wrote down some things, and like the first thing I thought of, like what the typical thing would be. So I wrote down depression, crying, anxiety, can't leave the house, eating disorder, never eats, OCD, super neat and clean, alcohol or other addiction, sloppy mess. I was like, that's what people think.
Yeah.
and I can think of like real life examples for all of those things where that's not even close to true.
Mm-hmm. Everyone is so different. You can't just have a rock bottom that's the same for everyone. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I mean, like the first one I said, depression, people think you're crying all the time. And I was like, for me, I do the exact opposite. I go into the numbness. So you don't see it because I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about like what you used to think rock bottom was versus like how that's changed over the years?
I think that when I would think of like hitting rock bottom, it felt like you reach a point where you no longer have any control, like things are happening outside of your control and, you know, you're just, like careening towards disaster. And I don't think that that's not true necessarily, but I think in my brain when I saw that, I imagined like, and then it's outwardly obvious, and the only way that it can get fixed is somebody else has to notice and step in and realize. And that part is not true.
Oh my God. I mean, I not to go back to what's happening in Palestine, it's only tangentially related, but like this reminds me of like what's happening in that part of the world is kind of like a rock bottom for society. And it's making me realize, like, what if we hadn't waited for rock bottom? Like, what if we had started noticing the stuff leading up to this and tried to make changes before? We wouldn't have reached this point of rock bottom where some things are never going to be the same.
Right.
That's like, when you were talking, that's kind of what you reminded me of.
And that makes sense because that was, you know, the first time that we kind of brought up the topic of what's going on there. And I mentioned that I was like, oh yeah, I realized as this has started that it was a thing that was getting reported on back when I was in high school on the news. Yeah. That's why I was like, this is all familiar. And that was the first thing that made me think of is just kind of like, so has nothing really gotten better since I was 17? And they've just kind of, been doing it without being like national news. That's what made me feel like that's kind of shitty.
Yeah, and we've had so many chances. And you could apply the same thing to like your own personal life. Like if you think back, it's like we were saying last week, studying history during times like this is vital to know all of the different pieces to the puzzle and to be educated when you talk about this. I think you could also say the same in mental health. You should become a historian of your past self.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, even with this podcast, I feel like sometimes I listen back and I feel like I'm listening to historical artifacts because I used to think so differently and in many ways the same, but it really helps to have context. And yeah, you do realize that rock bottom is something that is always kind of shifting and you can hit it multiple times and still never learn.
Yes, that's a good point too.
Yeah, that's just some thoughts I'm having. I'm done for now.
Okay. Okay.
I want to make sure we have time to hit all your notes.
Okay, yeah. I think another main one that I want to be sure to hit is that when you've got this idea of like what rock bottom should be and what it should look like and everything like that, I feel like we also kind of fall into the fallacy that once you hit rock bottom, that's going to be your catalyst. Like, oh, I've gotten as low as I can go. Now I want to change.
Only up from here. Oh my God, you're right.
And it's just like, no. Why would you think that when you haven't wanted to change the entire way down?
That's so true. It reminds me every time I've gone to treatment, I'll usually write in my journal that night, like in my hospital bed, about how relieved I'm feeling and how I feel like I can finally change and accept help. And like, it's only at that moment that I'm at my quote unquote rock bottom, like in the hospital, surrendering, do I say, okay, now I can change. But it's like I deserved it. And we talk about this a lot, like how we feel like we have to punish ourselves or like earn our existence. It feels like you have to reach rock bottom in order to earn recovery sometimes for me.
Yeah, like one that even this most recent time, like I hate that I still do this because I have said for years and years and years, and I recognize it for like everybody except for me. You know, we repeat so many times that like eating disorders are not about weight. But I always feel like every single time, like I did not really hit the bottom because I didn't get to my lowest weight.
Yeah.
And it's like, even, you know, last year I was keeping track of that and I was just like, really, I probably was a week or so out from rock bottom. I didn't get there yet. So it seems like it's still like this elusive out there. Yeah,
it's like we really should know better.
Exactly.
I've been the sickest when I wasn't even at my lowest weight. And it's so fucked up. I have been really struggling with weight lately, and I have not been talking about it on the podcast because I hate that I've been struggling with weight lately.
Yeah.
We know better, but it's like once you know, your body can reach that point. You're like, nothing else matters unless I reach that point again. And this doesn't even have to go for weight or eating disorders. It can go for anything.
Right.
You know, like, oh, I used to take this dose of whatever drug.
Yeah, I used to be able to drink this much every night.
Yeah. Like, I used to drink a 6-pack every night. I can drink 2, and it's not as bad, even though drinking 2 beers a night is destroying my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there.
Yeah, I wish I knew how to change that, because that's, I think, the most frustrating to me right now is that, like, it still is that way in my brain.
Well, so lately, I don't have a solution, but I do force myself whenever I start being tempted to keep going down this path. I do think, okay, let's say I do reach this weight or generate this level of concern. I've been there before, and it's not fun. Like, nothing changes. Like, I'm just setting myself back and losing more years of my life. Like, just putting myself, imagining that I have reached my rock bottom and then realizing, oh, even if I were there, I would still want to go deeper down.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
the thing. You can't talk about rock bottom without talking about the fact that, like, rock bottom doesn't exist because you can always get worse.
Exactly.
Until you die.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, rock bottom is dead.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think we talked about this before. Like, hot
I feel
take,
like we've said that,
rock
yes.
bottom is when you're dead.
Yeah. So that is why, yeah, you always feel like, oh, there's still a little, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah, so that when we say rock bottom, that's what we're talking about, I guess.
Yeah, but it's hard to remind yourself that because you still think that there's just this elusive, like, no, it's somewhere. I'll know when I get there. And then I want to change everything.
I romanticize my rock bottoms a lot.
Ooh,
I don't know
me
about
too.
you.
Absolutely. And that was, this is maybe the last note, and I'm leaving this up to you. This is a do if you want.
Oh boy.
Everyone's story about their mental health journey always seems, and I've mentioned this one before too, always seems to include, and I almost died. And I know that's one that's I've mentioned before has like gotten to me. I'm just kind of felt like, yeah, I've gone to treatment a few times, and I was apparently there with 15 people who've almost died and me. Because I don't feel like that. But so what I was going to propose is just a little self-indulgence.
Okay.
We each tell one of our worst quote-unquote war stories.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't... Whew. This is scary. I feel nervous.
Know. I am too, even though I thought of it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to prepare myself for this.
I guess this one will need a trigger warning.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, as always, these are our experiences, and we're still learning from our mistakes, and we don't recommend anyone try this at home.
Yeah, believe me, this is something that I am uncomfortable with, but realizing that when I was coming up with the idea was like, maybe that's okay. Maybe we should do something uncomfortable. And honestly, that is why when you were talking about realizing that you are slipping and sounds like kind of not caring in the moment, that I felt like maybe this could be a little reminder if you force yourself to do this.
I mean, it's hard to think of like a particular time because I feel like I'm always kind of I don't know.
You can say no.
No, I want to do it.
Okay.
I feel like if I talk about it, it'll just be really, really, really sad.
Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be a happy, uplifting moment. I don't know. I probably should have, planned something then to kind of bring us back up after that.
I'm allowed to make you uncomfortable. You're allowed to make me uncomfortable.
Oh, don't worry. I am also made myself uncomfortable. Like I said, since I've thought of that, I was just kind of like, would I really do I want to do that? Oh my God.
I feel like I need some sort of structure. Like, okay, when is the time you felt like you were at rock bottom? What was it that made you reach that point? And what do you think you learned from that? We could scratch the last part even. Maybe we didn't learn anything from it.
You're right. I'm trying to learn.
I don't know. What do you want to know, Lauren, about my rock bottoms? Since you're asking the questions here. I need prompts. I'm emotionally fragile.
So this is how uncomfortable it is for me, is I keep thinking, like I keep wanting to say and I keep like not saying it, but do you want me to go first? So you have
yes!
kind of
please go first.
I kept like almost saying that, and I'm just like, I can't. I'm volunteering to put myself out there first. Ooh.
That would make me feel better, yes.
So, yes, heavy trigger warning. This is just, like I said, telling a war story. So what I thought of is the time in my Chicago apartment when I was obviously relapsing pretty heavy into the eating disorder. And a lot of times I think I've brought up then I don't think that... Oh my God. Fucking meatball. We got a vape.
I'm vaping.
Okay. I don't think in general that I have like an alcoholism problem, but I feel like it definitely comes into play when the eating disorder is really bad, because it's just kind of like all out destroy myself in every way. And so I was drinking a lot and probably not much else. And
I've been there.
Yeah, and obviously heavily isolating, so always doing this alone in my apartment. And while I was drunk and unnourished, sorry, I gotta let him in. Hang on.
Da, 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 da. I should start keeping my keyboard next to the microphone and play the elevator music live.
Okay. Drunk and unnourished.
Drunk and unnourished and isolating.
Yes. Like something I used to do to kind of just like entertain myself, and probably still do, is just say like, I'm alone. I'm going to wear some cute like party clothes and do my makeup all fun and everything like that. Maybe take some pictures. And so I was doing that, but with everything else going on, I'd had a stool in my bedroom, and I think to kill a bug, and I hadn't taken it out yet. And I slid across the hardwood floors, and I knew this is going to be a crash and it's going to be bad. And I ended up hitting my side on the stool as I went down. It ended up breaking 2 ribs, but I didn't know that then. I just assumed it'd be like a really bad bruise. I knew that I was in pain, and to the best of my knowledge, nothing seemed broken, because it wasn't, like I broke my arm or anything like that. So I was like, okay, so I'm okay. But at that point I was, just like, it was the end of the night. Everything I'd been doing was so out of it that I crawled into the hallway, and I decided at that time that I was going to order a pizza. And I crawled into the hallway, and I ended up falling asleep. I did wake up when they knocked on my door. And so I got that. But also, I had been heavily abusing laxatives at this point, and I pretty much am passing out drunk. And I haven't told a good shit story in a while. Woke up to find out, literally, I had shit my pants. I had broken ribs and I had shit my pants.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Whew.
So there you go.
I'm curious. So what made you order the pizza?
You are asking somebody who had probably not eaten all day and had drank way too much. I don't know what made me order a pizza.
Well, I guess I'm asking because there have been times when I was the worst in my eating disorder when I would have moments of clarity, often under the influence of drugs. Mm-hmm. And I would be like, I need to eat something or I'm going to die. And then I'll order a whole pizza. So I was wondering if it was like that kind of thing with you.
No, I think it's more like because I was like under so many influences that I was just like, that gave me permission. I was like, oh, fuck it. You can eat pizza tonight.
So I have another question that we can ask after telling these rock bottom stories.
Okay.
How much worse did you get after that? Or like how long after that did it take for you to like wake up?
I was going to say, well, I didn't get better. I'm not sure how much worse.
Well, I mean, that's my point, is that we don't get better. And I want to remind listeners that I guess that's why I'm hesitant to talk about this, because I know that it's not getting better. And I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
I think the aftermath, I would say, is because I think around that time, then I had a therapist who was suggesting going, it was be between my first and second time in treatment. And I think she was suggesting going back. And of course, I was heavily resistant because I kept thinking, like, I feel in terms of numbers, then my first time going into treatment always looks the worst on paper. So, it definitely was one of those times where it was like, no, it's not as bad as it was that first time. So I think you're probably, blowing this out of proportion. And I would love to say, and this goes back to one of my points I made earlier, I'd love to say that I had that night and I woke up and realized, oh shit, it is this bad. I do need to go. But I think I probably resisted for a few more weeks and maybe like another month or so before I finally agreed to it.
Isn't that how it goes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I have some stories like that. I think rather than tell one rock bottom story, I'm just going to describe a series of rock bottom moments.
Okay.
So the first time that I knew my alcoholism was getting bad was when I threw a 4th of July party at the house I shared with my ex and my sister in DC. Mm-hmm. And I blacked out that night. My ex and my sister had to escort everyone home. I woke up in the middle of the night and I pissed myself in the hallway and my sister had to clean it up. And then I went to work at 7 a.m. the next morning.
Oof.
And I remember going to work and feeling deeply shaken by what had just happened, but also thinking like, that happens to everyone.
Yeah, so did it feel like a one-time thing or something?
Yeah, I mean, I had pissed myself in bed before after drinking, but I had never like walked out while blacked out. And like, that was like a new low for me, but I kept doing it. And like, I consider rock bottoms a lot of time the moment when I ask for help, because usually that's when it has gotten the worst. And when I drank, I would tell people that I needed help, but I would do it while blacked out, and so I wouldn't remember it.
Right.
So those were plenty of rock bottom moments that I willingly ignored. There was one final incident before I started isolating completely with alcohol, because when I moved to Seattle, I was heavily alcoholic. I had my dad had tried to get me onto his life savings plan. Mm-hmm. So like I would get money when they die. And I don't know why, but they had to get us all medically checked out, like to be eligible to be on the plan. And they denied me because of my liver.
Oh my God. Yeah.
This was 2018. This was right after I started the podcast, actually. I got the news and that was a rock bottom. Just kept drinking. But yeah, this time in Seattle I'm thinking of, it was when I was still being social with my drinking. And I went out on a boat with a few friends that I knew through a friend.
Okay.
And I brought a 6-pack of peach IPA. I think I even posted a picture of it on Peach. And at a certain point, my memory just goes blank. We went to a Mexican restaurant. I remember eating nachos and like thinking about purging. And I remember waking up like on my couch and not remembering how I got home. That's the only time like that's ever happened to me, and it scared the shit out of me. And to this day, like I haven't texted any of those people about what happened. I don't know like how I got home, who gave me a ride. I didn't have any Uber charges. It was really scary and I still didn't stop. But that kind of made me stop going out. Like after that, I just drank by myself in my house. But yeah, what really made me stop drinking once and for all was when I started getting blacked out and heavy trigger warning here, cutting myself. If you know my story, that's like the first addiction I ever had was self-harm. That was like the first thing that I started doing. And I hadn't done it in years and years and years. But yeah, when I was drinking, I started doing it again and started, making suicide plans and all this stuff. And binging and purging the whole time. Like when I was drinking and binging and purging at the same time, it was like hell.
That's a perfect storm.
Yeah, like when you were talking about ordering the pizza, I was like nodding furiously because I've done that so many times. I've woken up to like food on the floor that I ordered and blacked out in the middle of eating.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot, sorry.
It is, but as you were talking, I was writing something down that I hope is going to kind of wrap it up and give a whole like overarching message to this.
Please.
I said that these events that we just described are not rock bottoms because we've already said that rock bottom is dead, but it's undeniable that they are unlivable situations. They're not pretty. They're not romantic. And we just described two people who very much needed and deserved help.
Yeah. It's hard to have compassion for myself like now, but yeah, when I talk about this stuff, it's like, how did I go through that? Like even after drinking, I find it's hard to remember some parts of the worst times. That's when you asked me about my rock bottoms. I was like, do I even remember enough details? But yeah, I needed help and I was so alone and I was trying so hard, even though I didn't feel like I was, you know?
Yeah. So I think my overall takeaway that I didn't even know when I was talking about this and brought up the topic was just, I would encourage people just throw rock bottom out of your vocabulary.
Yeah, agreed.
You've probably already been there. Don't worry about that. If something feels wrong, then go with that. Don't worry about if you are far enough down.
Yeah. And you never know, how deep something will go if you choose to follow it. I'm thinking of a rabbit hole. You know, it might never end, but do you really want to find out?
Yeah. Do you really want to find out what is just so close that you can get there without basically ending your life?
Yeah. Yeah. Rock bottom. I have so many thoughts going through my head right now. I'm struggling to articulate, but you've always heard people say someone else's rock bottom or your rock bottom is someone else's good day. You know, you hear people say stuff like that.
Yeah, I have heard that.
What do you think about those kind of statements? Comparing
that sounds really
trauma.
Damaging. Yeah. I mean, that was why I was hesitant to even do this at the end and said, you put big trigger warnings and everything, because I just wanted a moment where we can admit to ourselves. I definitely do not want what we just talked about to be anyone comparing, saying well, I didn't get where they did. No, that's not the point at all.
Yeah, the point is I never really thought I was at rock bottom during any of those points I just described. Yeah. And even talking about it now is not enough to make us change.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say my rock bottom with depression is probably the time when I realized that over the course of a year, I had done something social 4 times in an entire year. It was something that pointed it out to me and was a kind of dramatic look at it. But it's not dramatic when you're going through it. No one is seeing it and being wow, you have not come out with us very often. That doesn't look, that's not something people make movies about. They're not wow, it's so dramatic. They're sitting in their house again. Wow.
Exactly. Not only is there a concept of rock bottom, but that concept of rock bottom is very exclusive sometimes. There's only certain things can be, it's only the visible things, like you said. It's only the things that people talk about, that people notice. And yeah, it's dangerous as fuck. I'm trying to think of what we could replace it with. If we choose to reject the concept of a rock bottom, what's a healthier way of validating your struggles?
I would just say needing help.
Yeah. I need help right now. You don't even have to say why. You don't have to elaborate. Let them think the worst.
Some people, it can be, not super dramatic, but they realize hey, I need help. And that should be the same point.
Yeah, it should be enough to just say, hey, I'm going through a hard time, instead of saying hey, this is the worst it's ever gotten. I feel like it has to be the worst it's ever gotten before I ask for help. But just one phrase that helps me is, I don't want to be alone right now. Because it highlights the seriousness of the situation without giving any details. Just language like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, I said I don't know.
Okay.
What do you listeners think about rock bottom?
Yeah. What do you think about just doing away with the whole idea? What would you replace it with?
Yeah, what is a better way to frame this? And how can we continue to validate people who are maybe they have the chance to get better before reaching their worst point? That's the thing. I wasted so much time looking for rock bottom, and I still feel like I am in some ways.
That's a really good point, that it feels, when you look back at it, it's just kind of I wasted that time thinking I needed to find it.
Yeah, chasing it even. And why? I mean, that's when you start delving into some personal issues with, why do we think we need to get to rock bottom in order to deserve help? Why do we think we deserve rock bottom in some cases? It's unattainable. It's all unattainable.
Yeah. Why do we always still think that it's still out there? Like, maybe I've been there. That's fine.
Yeah. But you can't go to a place that doesn't exist, Lauren.
That's true.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. We need to wrap up.
Okay.
I hope that you got something out of this, listener.
Yeah.
Don't be like us. Or maybe do. That's your choice.
Yeah. Because hopefully neither of us are trying to reach rock bottom right now.
No, not consciously anyway.
Right.
You want to tell them how they can follow us on social media, Lauren?
Oh my God. The end of this episode definitely needs a phone voice. So...
Yes.
So let me tell you. If you're looking for us, you can find us at Pickles and Vodka Podcast on Instagram. You can also email us if you would like at picklesandvodkapodcast@gmail.com. We have a Facebook. You can search Pickles and Vodka, a mental health podcast. Also on YouTube, Pickles and Vodka Podcast. And if you would like to follow any of us individually, then we are on Instagram at xtinajumper or at Picosuave, Picosauve. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will see you next week. Bye.